All right, I'm the Flat Rate Master. Today, we're talking about tools and chemicals when you got a case of the green Crusties. All right, so you got a case of the green Crusties. If you don't know what those are, watch a few Erico or Keith DeFazio New Level Auto videos and you'll see the green Crusties. Corrosion, add an electrical connector. Sometimes add a component and a connector, sometimes just add a connector. So what do you do when you run into that? Well, the best solution is replace the connectors that are involved. If it plugs into a component, replace that component and everything's all good again. Well, not always possible, not always available, not always practical for the customer's budget. So one option, if you've got a connector with like one or two bad connections or even an entire connector that's bad, you can wire around it, basically remove the connector. Valid repair, not the best solution, but a valid repair to get that vehicle back on the road. But if you run into a situation where you've got a vehicle that, you've got a module that it plugs into, you got a case of the green Crusties, it's invaded the module, the connector, obviously you're going to have to replace the module. You might get away with replacing individual pins in that connector or maybe that whole connector. And of course, obviously, if you're going to depin a connector, you need a set of terminal pin tools. Now, they all look funky and stuff like that. They're just tools to depin a connector. I will link that kit in the description. When you're depinning a connector, you can sometimes get just the pins or maybe the connector and fix it that way. But a lot of times you run into, well, that connector is only available with the entire harness and it's a body harness. You don't want to take the entire car apart because it's going to total the vehicle. So what do you do when you have other issues? What do you do with that? Well, we'll get into that in a minute. The last issue we get into is called pin fitment. That's basically when the pin itself, where the connector goes in, is too loose. Now, a lot of times you can go in there with a little pick and bend it out a little bit after you've depinned it and bring that tension back up. And as long as it holds good pin tension, you're good. Doesn't always work. Sometimes you just have to replace the pin, which might involve going to a junkyard, might be going to the dealership, you never know. So how do we deal with it other than that? Connector's not available, customer doesn't have the money, we got the green Crusties. What other options are there? Well, the first option is a set of diamond pin files. Now they look like tweezers, but they do open up so you can go in there and clean a terminal. You just go in there like you're plugging and unplugging a connector and you basically put a new surface on it. You're just sanding it with really fine diamond sandpaper. That's probably the best solution. The thing you got to remember is pin fitment. If it's fitting in there too tight and you bend the pin, you have to bend it back. But a great solution. Next, we're going to talk about some of the chemicals that you can use. Now, one of the big ones I have around here is CRC electrical cleaner. Now, not a sponsor, by the way. Spray it in there, cleans out a bunch of the crud. It's going to help clean it up, but it's not a do-all situation. All right, next option we're going to talk about is, this is AC Delco dielectric lubricant. Now, hopefully I got the right stuff, as this stuff specifically in this little jar was mentioned in a TSB on the EBCMs on General Motors to when you've got power code issues on an EBCM, you take this stuff and you put it in the connector and it's supposed to promote. From my understanding, I'm sure somebody will correct me, it does have some sort of not only dielectric grease, but also some sort of contact promoter in it as well. It's not just standard dielectric grease. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong or if I've got the wrong part number. But I was turned on to this by a GM tech, and it seems to work pretty good. I have another option that is by Sanchem Niox ID A Special, automotive marine use. I'm testing it out. It doesn't look near as pretty as the AC Delco stuff. You know, AC Delco is nice and white. But you just take a small amount, put it in the connector. It's supposed to promote connection. I've used the AC Delco stuff. I haven't had a chance to use this stuff yet. Now, next product we're going to talk about, I've used extensively. Dioxit, D5 and D series spray bottle, and the little eyedropper style. Really good contact promoter. Used extensively in this industry. Blurb on it: removes oxidation, improves contact, protects surfaces, improved reliability. I know this stuff works. Definitely a good thing to have in the toolbox. This isn't real expensive. The next one is stupid expensive, but it works really well. That is Stabilant 22. Now, this little jar right here. It's $50. $50! But it works really, really well. Now, my understanding of how this stuff works is it actually slightly melts the connector materials that you plug together to promote contact. So, I don't know, I haven't done too many testing on, years after disconnecting to see how they disconnect, if they're, stuck together or anything. But that's my understanding of how it works. I'm sure if I'm wrong, which I probably am, somebody in the comments will, let me know. This stuff works really, really well, but again, it's stupid expensive. And some of this stuff I have a hard time buying because, I buy it, it tends to disappear. Somebody borrows it once and I never get it back kind of thing, and I can't remember who borrowed it. So that one will stay locked up, but the rest of the stuff is relatively inexpensive. 15 bucks, 12 bucks, whatever. I'll put links to all this stuff in the comments. So if you want to pick something up, you can support the channel by doing that. But this is the kind of stuff you got to have when you deal with, the green crusties. You got to have some of these tools, some of these chemicals, just to get the customer back on the road. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Comments are always appreciated. And as always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.